our laws as it pertains to substances are draconian and bizarre. Psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for Christ's sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. You have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
And first up, thank you to Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky for producing the show. Also our sponsors and friends at True Niagen. I've taken this for years. I make Susan take it. You can get a special discount on 3 bottles with the code DRDRW at drdrew.com/True Niagen. I recommend it. I've done some podcasts on it if you want more information about it. I'm convinced this NAD story is an important story. So I take it every day, and there may be some benefit on even the COVID outbreak. So that's something to keep an eye on. Today, later in the show, we're going to have Dr. Brady come back to show us his handiwork. He has restored Allison's mouth. We got Allison out there to Dr. Brady. Remember Dr. Brady, Steve-O's friend, who does all the charity dental work. We're going to talk to them in a few minutes, but right now it is at Funny Asian Dude, the one and only Jimmy O Yang. Follow him at jimmycomedy.com. Hey, buddy.
Hey, Drew, how are you?
Hey, man, I'm good. Let me go over a little bit of your stuff here first. Obviously, Jimmy is an actor, a stand-up comic. He is in Crazy Rich Asians. He is you've seen him from Silicon Valley, and now Netflix original series Space Force, where you also do a Space Force podcast. Is that right?
Yeah, we have like a post-show podcast where I get to interview the cast. It's kind of like, Talking Dead for The Walking Dead, and this is called Inside Space Force. It's really cool. The first 4 episodes are out. It's me talking to Steve Carell, Greg Daniels, John Malkovich was on one episode. That's my guy, man.
How crazy. That's what I wanted to ask you. How crazy was it working with Malkovich and Steve Carell?
First day, I was nervous, man. As anybody would be, working with these 2 legends. But honestly, nicest guys on the planet. Like Steve is notoriously nice, and it's absolutely true. And Malkovich is nice, and he's like super cool. Like he actually knows more about K-pop than I do. Like he's just very he's very open-minded and curious even about new stuff and amazing, just amazing people.
I kid you not, I would watch him reading the phone book. That's the only person on earth that if he were just standing there reading the phone book, I'll watch. I'm fine.
Yeah, for sure.
And of course, he brings interesting and weird, quirky stuff to the characters in this series. I still don't. I've only watched about half the run so far, so I still don't understand. Well, don't tell me. I'll learn more as I watch the rest of the season. Because
it's pretty cool. But his character is cool though, huh?
Oh my God! But he makes it interesting and cool. That's the craziness. And Carell's great as always, and you're great. And Ginger Gonzaga, our friend, is in it. It's like Susan goes, all our friends are in this series.
Yeah. Yeah, Ginger plays a AYC character, a young congresswoman, and I think she just kills it. There's so many amazing guest stars as well. The late great Fred Willard, we're so lucky to have had him on that season, and it was heartbreaking to see him on. He's still so funny,
That's exactly what I thought to myself. I'm assuming that tremor that he plays on is his age, right? Or is he doing that?
No, I thought that was like him playing a character, but it wasn't. I think that was his real life tremor,
I
sadly.
Think he's
I didn't share a scene with him.
I think he's using that tremor to sort of amplify his age rather than hide it, right? I think he actually used it comedically, and then his timing is Fred Willard perfect all the way through.
Incredible timing, super sharp. Some of the funniest scenes, like the first 2 episodes, was still him. It was sad. And we had a little Space Force group chat, and I found out from that group chat that he has passed. And it was tough because we're literally pitching about ideas for him for next year, stuff like that. And gone the next day. It was very tough.
Oh, I'm sorry. You had to go through all that. Everyone I know that knew him, aside from the fact that he was sort of legendary comedically, they just loved the guy.
Yeah, really cool guy. And Ginger, another guest star on the show. Jane Lynch was a guest star. It's just a really stacked lineup, and very
it's killing
lucky
it.
to be a part
people
of
are
it.
watching it, right?
It's been #1 on Netflix. I checked this yesterday. I don't know if you checked this, Drew. I feel like you might check it every now and then. But on IMDb, there's a thing called a star meter, to see who's the most searched show, who's the most searched actress. And Space Force is #1. And our girl who plays Erin, Steve's daughter on the show, Diana Silvers, super brilliant actress, she's #1, most searched, technically most famous person in the world. So we're all very happy. And
that's interesting.
yeah, it seems like it's getting good traction. Yeah.
I could see. I've started to look people up as they become interesting to me as in their performances. I'm just not to get off your show, but I'm obsessed with What We Do in the Shadows. And so I started looking at all. I started looking at all those actors and the actress and stuff like, who are these people? Where'd this come from? And I had the same feeling about her, because I felt like I'd seen her somewhere, but she really is a kind of a standout in your series. So
yeah, she was in Booksmart. She's only 21 years old, and she's an incredibly talented actress. And she was like a supermodel. She closed a show for like Stella McCartney, and just happens to also know how to act very well.
So speaking of acting, when I was introducing you, when I was figuring on introducing you, I thought I would introduce you as the son of a famous Chinese actor, but I don't know your dad's name. So please share that story. Share that story.
Richard O-Yang. Richard O-Yang is my father.
He wanted to be rich, so his name's Richard. I got it.
Exactly. That's from my stand-up, man. And yeah, he's a legit actor now. He has a SAG card, and for you guys Space Force fans out there, you might see an appearance from Richard at some point in the season.
What?
Opposite John Malkovich.
Wow. It's
very cool.
Fantastic.
And everybody loved him. He was really good. He really pulled through. There's something about, I think, every actor, like, it's like, oh my God, we want to work with Robert De Niro, Steve Carell, John Malkovich, these legends. But for him, he never really thought about being an actor.
Well, tell the story. Tell the story.
Cool.
Tell the story.
Well, so there's an episode in Space Force, episode 9, I believe, where we have to cast a couple Chinese scientists, authentic Chinese people that, can also speak Mandarin, preferably. Yeah. And I remember Greg, after the table read, was like, it's always like the same 2-3 older Asian guys, like, Ma Tai, the guy from Rush Hour, and Mulan, and many things. It just, it's hard to find fresh, new, old Asian faces, because there's just not a lot of old Asian people acting out there, right? So I remember jokingly, maybe a week ago, I was joking with John Malkovich and Ben Schwartz about how my dad became an actor after I did, because he was like, oh, it's so easy, you can do it. I can probably do it. So
That's
this
exactly
was years
what
ago.
happened. That's what happened.
Yeah, I sent him on a bunch of different auditions through my old agent. And I was like, okay, great, because he's going to learn a lesson and realize how hard acting is, right? It's a real craft. But then instead of that, it completely backfired, and he started booking everything. He started like killing it, and he got his SAG card playing my dad in Patriots Day, a movie I did years ago with Wahlberg. So when this came up, when the script came up, after the table read, Malkovich actually spoke up. He was like, why don't you just hire Jimmy's dad? Kind of, I guess, as a joke, semi-serious, whatever. And I guess Greg actually thought about it, and now went home that day, and I cut together like a acting reel for my dad from all the stuff he's done. Sent it to Greg, just a very nice, casual email like, hey, Greg, my dad could play this guy. He's a good actor. Just in case, he's a good actor. Maybe somebody to consider, have him come in and audition, and I was just hoping to get my old man an audition. And the next thing you know, he just got the job, and he freaking killed it. It was really good.
And it doesn't piss you off too much?
I think I'm past that point, in the family group chats and stuff, we have a WeChat family group chat, and like the uncles from Shanghai would like message us instead of saying like, hey, so happy that Jimmy's on the show. They'll be like, so happy that you and Jimmy's on the show. And then he'll refer to it as a we unit. Sure, I could be upset about that, but no, I'm just really happy that I get to work with my old man. I mean, how good of a story is that? It's
great. It really is good. And by the way, we have not mentioned your Amazon stand-up special, which is fantastic. I remember, I don't know if you remember, but I went and saw you at the Ice House. And you don't know this, but I came back raving about your stand-up. And I was very happy to see some of the same stuff that I thought was so good on the Amazon. So I cannot recommend the Amazon special enough. That's congratulations on that too.
Thank you so much, Drew. When you saw at the Ice House, I think it was in October, and I shot the special in November, I believe. So it's a work in progress, but by the time you saw it, it was pretty close to what the special was. I think I don't know if you remember, I don't remember my set from the Ice House, but I changed around some orders of things.
You did. The order was different, and you didn't shit on your dad quite as much.
Oh, isn't that a disappointment? I should have shitted on him more. That's what the critics are saying. He should have shitted on his dad more. But no, that was a fun show, and I'm glad you came out, man. That was a nice homecoming because Ice House was like one of the first clubs that really showed me love in LA.
Oh, no kidding.
Being able to kind of sell that out finally, and leading up to my special, it was great. It was a great feeling.
Well, it was a good performance, so thank you. And we've not, I don't know if I'm getting a little feedback here, guys. Hey, the producers, I'm hearing feedback in my head here.
When you had your earpiece pulled out.
I see, maybe.
That's just the demons in your head, Drew.
It could be. There are plenty these days. But oh no, I'm getting active feedback. I mean, real serious feedback. So it's not the demons.
It's because you said shit on his dad. That's
oh
why.
well, that maybe is the cause. But let me do me a favor, Jimmy, if you wouldn't mind. I don't think anybody that watches my stream or listens to my podcast or anything has heard how you and I, what the source of your and my relationship is.
It is, yeah. Because
the only time you really ever
so
told
random.
that, the only time you ever really told that is when Fred got you onto the Adam and Drew podcast years ago.
Right.
But if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit of that, I think it'd be funny for people to hear it.
For sure. So let me go kind of way back when I came to this country when I was 13 years old from Hong Kong. And not only do I have to learn a new language, but just the new culture, the customs of Americans. I think in Hong Kong growing up, maybe because when I was a kid, it might be different now. But it's like, okay, you meet a nice girl and you get married. That's it, you know. In America, the first thing that hit me was like, oh my God, you better get laid. You know, in high school, everybody loses their virginity at 16. American Pie. I mean, come on, you're a loser if you don't go to prom and you don't get laid.
And you didn't speak English at the time.
I mean, come on, I had no chance, dude. I had no chance. I haven't even really talked to a girl, let alone talking to a girl in English. So I bought a radio from the 99-cent store, just like a little portable radio, and just switch channels. And I wasn't cool. I was like 13, 14 then, freshman year of high school. So I wasn't like hanging out with my buddies, going out, getting in trouble. So at night, I would just listen to the radio at like 10, 11 o'clock. And then I just stumbled upon Loveline when you and Adam hosted Loveline. And I was like, oh my God, first of all, super funny what you and Adam was doing. And second of all, so informative. It's all these cultural things that I've never heard of, you know, and kids talking about getting herpes or like, what was the mason jar thing? Like all these like little sex things and advice. And the whole time I was listening to it, first of all, I was just like, oh my God, I'm a freaking loser because everybody else is getting laid and getting herpes, but I don't even have a chance to contract herpes. But then later on, I was like, oh my God, this is really
If only.
If only, Lord, give me the chance. Come on. But it was really informative and kind of made me feel sane of, okay, maybe even if I'm not like cool and hanging out with girls and experimenting yet, I can hear other teenagers' experiences. And it's pretty refreshing. And it's something that I never thought of at all, even back in Hong Kong, and seeing you guys. It's funny and informative, and I was listening to it religiously for all of high school.
You at one point said we were like your American dads or something.
Absolutely, you guys were. You guys taught me the birds and the bees, whereas Richard never had, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I should ask my other Asian friends, like, do their parents tell them about the birds and the bees? Because mine didn't at all. I found out from a Hustlers magazine and Loveline. Yeah, like, you know, I think the American, I don't know if you did this with your kids, Drew, but the American custom is as a dad, you give your kids,
you have a
your boy, a box of condoms before they go off to college, right?
Sure.
Like, just if you're gonna have sex, be safe. I don't know if you did that. My dad definitely didn't do that, and I asked him years later, like when I was, 30. I was like, Dad, other dads gave their kids a box of condom. How come you never talked about it? You never gave me condoms. He was like, you condoms? Come on. He just knew. He knew I wasn't getting no action.
You must have built your confidence, dude.
He's great. He's great at confidence building. It was, but it was fun, man. I think I remember I used to try to call into Loveline too, but I don't think I ever got through. But it was, you guys were like my idols and very important, shaping my life, you know. And that's why I'm still single, and all my relationships have been a mess. So thank you very much, Drew and Adam.
It's our pleasure, Jimmy. You're a bad CEO,
but still,
Jimmy. Bad CEO.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's my. But still, I still come to Drew for advice and stuff. And no, we've been friends for a long time, and I was so happy to get on you and Adam's podcast years ago, and that's how we met. Awesome.
Well, thank you for telling that story. It was so stunning to me when you came and told us. I was like, wow. And to think, to me, the part that was so fascinating is that you had to deal with the language issue too. And the Loveline was sort of a language course for you in a weird way, sort of in colloquialisms and things, right?
Well, it's language and culture, right?
Yeah.
Loveline, one of my favorite radio show, and then on TV it was like BET Rap City and BET Comic View. Because not only did they inform me about the language, all those comedians informed me about culture. You know, how we saw one another, and maybe even the stereotypes that I never understood or even cared to think about back in Hong Kong, because everybody was Asian. So kind of seeing this new world and hearing everyone else's voice was very cool.
Do you go back to Hong Kong ever?
I only been back once, and that was 2 or 3 years ago after we shot Crazy Rich Asians in Singapore. I flew my parents to Singapore for the last week, and then we went back to Hong Kong. It was great. I think I put it off for a long time because it was kind of emotionally like challenging. Like, oh, I had a pretty good childhood in Hong Kong, right? Like, but what if I go back there and it's not what I remembered, you know, and all that. But it was fine. The trip was great, and
was
I
it
want to
different?
go back there more.
Was it different?
I think a lot of people say it's changed a lot, but I was such a child. For me, it hasn't changed. My relationship to it is very different, but Hong Kong itself seems more or less the same.
Yeah, we were there, what, 2-3 years ago? 4 years ago now? Jeez, I can't remember. But it was a very interesting place. My goodness. We were on the Kowloon side most of the time. But it's hard to describe unless you've sort of seen it, right? Like, I can't imagine what it would be like to be a school child there. I mean, it's so concentrated.
Well, I think that's what's normal to me. There's a sense of calm even when I go to Tokyo or Manhattan, and it's the LA wide streets built for cars that I'm not used to. So when I went back to Hong Kong, it was a sense of home, and it was like a sense of belonging that I don't think still I'm struggling with in America, you know. And I remember you told me this. It's like, don't be so hard on yourself, man. Give yourself some slack. You didn't learn the language until you're 13 and stuff. And I remember my response, I think there was an episode of the podcast before. My response was, you know, if I cut myself too much slack, I wouldn't be where I am. You know, I have to not give myself too many excuses. But sometimes I do, or else I get stressed out. I need to give myself a little slack because I didn't really start in the same place.
I get what you're saying. But to that point, if you really look at the distance you've covered, I mean, you should give yourself a bit of a nod, you know. Take a moment and take that all in. That's pretty extraordinary.
For sure. Thank you, Drew. And it's interesting because I have a lot of like shoulder pain and I don't sleep well. And I think the old
you haven't called me in the last 6 months or so. That's probably what it is. I need to straighten this shit out for you. So
I know. Let's talk about it. I think it's a lot of it. It's very much like, you know, I don't let myself have the moment to appreciate or be grateful of how far I've come, and I'm just keeping pushing, and my life and my career was just all being uncomfortable, you know. So but now I think I can take a step back.
You're in a business where that's realistic, right? It's realistic to push yourself like that because you have to go while there's someplace to go, right? And because you don't know how long it's going to last, you know where it's going. That's just the nature of the business you're in. So I get that. But I still think it's healthy to step back from it and kind of look at things a little bit. I'm not saying, I think it's unrealistic to say, oh, Jimmy, settle down. Don't push so hard. I think that's not right. But by the same token, to take 5 minutes to kind of think of the sweep and where you've been and where you've come and take it kind of in, that could be good.
Yeah, I think that should be said for everyone. Just be grateful. And
That's
I try to have a little routine before I go to bed now. Especially these days when one day just blends into another and I live by myself. So it's weird. Like, I don't know if I told anyone this before, but I don't know if you had patients or people you talk to that have similar experiences. When you live by yourself and you're single, and I'm used to going to a comedy club every night, either doing a set, drinking, trying to get some girls, whatever that may be, right? And that feels like a complete night if I got fucked up with alcohol and then come home and passed out, or if I went to a party, if I did a set, or if I got laid. That seems like a complete night. If I'm just at home watching TV, being chill, being a good boy, I don't feel like that's a complete night. And then I have to do something crazy. Like I end up drinking or something, and I try to not do that. You
and I are going to get offline and we're going to have a little conversation here. Okay. because I see a way out for you. I see a way out. Okay.
Okay, great. Right. Okay.
And you should, don't worry about yourself. You're good at, by the way, you're good at taking direction too. So don't stress out about this. I think in a weird way, it's the work that's keeping you kind of lined up, right? Because you have so much work to do. You can't do all those complete nights anymore.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So that's okay. That's all right. But hey, let me, I want to take a couple of calls here. And we'll see if we can help some people out.
Jimmy does a great job with calls. He did a great job on Dr. Drew After Dark.
Yes, he did.
Well, I try to fill in as Adam or as the old love line,
That's right.
As much
He's the
as
Adam role. Jimmy and I are going to do a show. This is Ron, and this is I don't think you can answer this one, but I want to answer it. I think it's a great question. Ron, go ahead.
Hi, Drew. Thanks for having me on the show. By the way, I'm 52 years old. Just throw that out there. And I had a laryngectomy almost 4 years ago now. Coming up on 4 years.
Is that for what kind of cancer? What kind of cancer did you have there?
It was on my larynx, on my vocal cord.
Got it. Okay.
And so I did radiation and chemotherapy, and it didn't quite work. So I did end up having to get a laryngectomy. And so I'm sure a lot of your viewers don't even know what a laryngectomy is. So basically, I do breathe through my neck. I no longer breathe through my mouth or my nose or any of that. I have a tracheostoma that goes directly to my lungs. So I know I've heard all the talk about it. And by the way, I do want to make a comment because one of the reasons I called this time and I was on hold the last time was because you had Steve-O on your show, and Steve-O had mentioned his voice going out, so I didn't want to refer to that in just a second. But anyway, so I don't breathe through my nose, I don't breathe through my mouth, and I know that a lot of people say that getting COVID-19 in your nose is probably one of the main transmissions. So since I breathe directly through my neck into my lungs, I'm wondering how much more susceptible I am to possibly getting COVID-19, and I also wonder how much more or what more complications a laryngectomy might have outside of somebody who doesn't breathe through their neck.
So great question. That's why I wanted to deal with it. And man, congratulations! You are more fluid with the electric larynx than almost anybody I've ever heard. Have you heard that before?
I really appreciate that. I worked really hard on it. There's a couple of guys. I know a lot of laryngectomies now. I didn't before, but we give each other tips and tricks, and it took a lot of practice. It didn't come that easy, but I'm glad I've gotten as far as I have.
Dude, you have got this thing wired, man. That sounds great. So congratulations on that. Here's an interesting part about your question.
Thank you very much.
Is that it's thought that the majority of the transmission and the infection. Oh, Susan, I'm having a reaction again. I need a water or coffee or something here. Well, you know what it is when the air conditioning turns on. Then let's do this. That's when I start to cough. It's right over there. So it's thought that the majority of the transmitting and the receiving of COVID is through the nose. So you're not moving air through your nose, right?
I have the ability to move a little bit of air through my nose simply with like atmospheric air that might be in my mouth or whatever. I can like kind of use it to
So it's sort of like
bits of air.
by swallowing and stuff. Okay. So there's some potential for transmission that way. I don't know. Let's put it this way. You'd be less likely to give it to somebody if the nose is the major transmitter. Your nose is still a region that can receive it. Obviously, your lung is closer to the outside world. There are also ACE receptors in the upper airways of the lung. So I'm going to bet you're at slightly added risk. I bet you're slightly more risk than average, but not necessarily more. And you can always just wear a gauze over, or a cloth over the trachea, and I suspect that would work as well as a mask. Does that all make sense?
Oh yeah, I'm bringing back the bandanas. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. And you probably do that anyway. And so good. I mean, I wouldn't, you're in your 50s, you're not high risk, you're not obese or anything?
No, actually, I was a little bit overweight before my surgery, but ever since then, I lost weight in the hospital, and ever since then, I've been able to maintain a nice healthy weight.
So again, you're at some added risk, but I'm probably not much added risk. And by the way, should you need a ventilator or something, they don't have to intubate you. They just put the tracheostomy right. Well, it makes it a lot easier when you're clinically working with people with laryngectomy. You just hook them right up with a.
You know what? I've actually heard about that. And by the way, I've only heard of in the United States 3 laryngectomies that have contracted COVID-19. So not that there's a ton of us. The numbers are probably 30 to 60,000, somewhere in that range right now in the United States. So I'm not overly worried about it, but I was just very, very curious about what your thoughts were on that.
I love it. I love it.
My next part is with.
It's stuff like this that makes me think.
I'm so impressed at his voice.
It makes me think, Ron, and I really appreciate that. I have to think it through. Yeah, his voice. This is the best laryngectomy vocal performance.
I'm trying to picture how they do it.
Vocal performance I've ever heard. So he knows. He's been working hard at it. Ron, call anytime, man. Good luck.
Again.
All right, man. See ya.
Well, I wanted to really quick with Steve. I was a little bit concerned with what he was talking about with his voice going, and I know he said he got it checked out. But I'm hoping that he'll stay on top of that and then get checked out at least every once in a while for anything that might be going on in there.
So what Ron is saying, that Steve-O has some progressive hoarseness. We all know what Steve-O's voice sounds like, and he was saying it could be something growing on the cords. That's probably what Ron had. But to be fair, I mean, there's about 10 other things that can do that as well. So he should get it checked out. Let's be fair. But it could be reflux. It could be a lot of stuff, nodes and varices and whatnot. Thanks, Ron.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much, Doctor. You guys have an excellent day.
Okay. Yeah. Isn't that interesting, Jimmy?
Yeah. Wait, so Drew, if you're a mouth breather, are you less likely to get COVID?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. It's another interesting thought. A lot is made of how the nose transmits it early, particularly. I have a feeling a lot of it's coming in through the lungs too. I do. So I wouldn't make too much of that nose thing. I bring the nose issue up mostly because people are always wearing these masks like this below their nose. Right. And that drives me crazy. It's like, hey, the nose is a big issue, so be sure you cover it. Before I did the Masked Singer, I had to get a laryngoscope. I did the Masked Singer thing, right? Do you know this?
I haven't seen it.
No.
Is this a spoiler?
No. I did it last season, the season 2, and it would have been. It was a lot of fun, but I had a vocal issue all of a sudden, and I had to get scopes, and I had a varice and reflux and all kinds of great stuff on my cords. So people should get that checked out if they do.
Not to make this about me, Drew, but I've always had sore throats when I was a kid, and I think I get a lot of strep throat. And I'm thinking about taking out my tonsils as an adult. What do you think about that?
Is it proven strep throat? Do you get the swabs and?
Yeah. Okay. At least once or twice a year, I get a proven strep throat.
Okay, so technically,
I'm sure there's other incidents. Yeah.
And do you have big tonsils?
I think so. You want to take a look? I don't know.
You can. We can try this. I mean, telemedicine is a big thing now. I need a light. Got to shine a light in there. Nah. Almost.
Hang on.
Almost.
This is a big tonsil reveal.
Yeah. Don't stick your tongue out so far. You got to get the light in there. The light's not going in. There. No. The light's not going. Oh. Yeah, they are. What I could see with the flash I got of your tonsils, they did not look that big, by the way. At least not right now.
Okay.
But they might get big when you get the infections. Technically, 4 times a year buys you a tonsillectomy. Technically.
Oh, wow. You need that much.
No. I didn't say you need it. I didn't say you need it. I said you do it 4 times a year, you're getting a tonsillectomy. 2, right. I could see where you would want one. I could see where you might want to do that. But it's a bigger deal when you're an adult than when you're a kid.
Is it just pain for 2 weeks and then after that smooth sailing?
And it's tissue damage and anesthesia and things and you know when at our tender age, Jimmy, it tends to set you back a little bit. It's a little different. It's a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, it hit different. But it is, I get mucusy and sometimes it's tough to perform. I mean, my job is to speak and that's hard, man. It's a childhood lifelong problem. Whenever I get tired, my throat starts going out.
I'm going to send you to the guy I saw for the Masked Singer. Okay.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Is he an ear, nose, and throat guy?
Yeah. There's sort of 2 guys in LA that are the best guys, and I'll send you to one of them. Okay. You and I we need a long offline talk here. Clearly,
seriously, I'm falling apart, Drew.
Well, it's been so long since you called me for the advice. I was getting used to like our regular sessions.
Yeah. We gotta talk, man. We gotta talk.
All right, let's take another call here. Speaking of talking, this is we're talking a little mood disturbance. Matthew, go ahead.
Hey, I'm 19 years old, and I've been dealing with severe depression for about 4 years. And I've tried almost like everything, including like getting on antidepressants, going on keto, exercising, and doing therapy. I'm currently taking about 40 grams of Prozac. Like, what else can I do to help me fix this problem?
Let me ask a couple things. Do you have trauma history in your childhood?
Yeah, I have trauma history.
Have you ever had that trauma treated?
Somewhat with therapy, yeah.
See,
like I'm pretty aware of like how to deal with my trauma and all that kind of stuff.
It's not about dealing with the trauma. It's about sort of rebuilding some of the brain structures that let you regulate in spite of the trauma. And whenever I hear about recalcitrant depressions, I always think trauma or substance. Are you using any substances?
No, but my both sides of my family actually are big substance abusers.
Yeah, which is there's your trauma, right? And so, I would, 40 milligrams of Prozac was a lot of medicine. That's plenty. I mean, that's if something's gonna. The only thing from a medical standpoint you could consider if you're someone that has failed traditional antidepressant therapy is ketamine infusions. I've seen ketamine work really well for people that have resistant depressions, particularly this sort of setting of depression. But I would tell you, I would urge you, even if you do that, I would still urge you to get specific trauma therapy, something like EMDR.
EMDR, what's that?
It's kind of hypnotic kind of a thing. It's an eye movement desensitization therapy where you watch a sort of a light moving back and forth while you are led through some of the issues around the trauma, and it gives you access to aspects of the trauma that your brain will not let you have. It's just the way trauma affects the brain, and this gives you access and helps you rebuild the wiring to be able to regulate your emotional systems in spite of that trauma. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate the call. Yeah, Jimmy, you've heard about the ketamine infusions?
Well, our friend took it and seemed to have worked for him.
It's remarkable sometimes.
How is it as a recreational drug? I've been offered some ketamine at parties, and I have not taken them. It sounds fun.
It's super sedating. Were you offered it sort of to snort it?
I don't know. I didn't inquire further.
Yeah. It feels I don't know what to say about it. I mean, people.
Have you ever taken it, Drew?
No.
Okay,
no.
me neither.
People that take it usually are doing a lot of other stuff. And so I see lots of other problems associated with ketamine, and I'm not sure it's the ketamine. I feel like it's often the GHB or the hallucinogens or, that kind of stuff. But it feels like it'd be difficult to stay in command of your senses if you were on that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people were talking
Like
also
Molly?
about a K-hole.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Well, isn't that where you sort of fugue out, right? You just you're stuck. And
I don't know. Yeah, apparently it's like a come down. It's like super gnarly.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. I don't like playing with the brain.
Is it like E or something, or Molly or whatever?
Ease up. Ketamine it's sort of depressant. Sort of a.
We need somebody to tell us what it feels like.
I mean, they get high from it.
Fred might be able to tell you.
Has Fred been? He did the infusions? That's right. Fred did the infusions, and he had a good response.
I don't know what the difference. Yeah, it seems like he did. I don't know. But why not?
Well, Jimmy, I'm going to let you go. Congratulations on Space Force. I'm excited to know that there's another season coming. And now I'm gonna have to go.
We don't know that yet. We don't know it. They haven't announced it. It's been doing very well. We hope we get a second season.
Well,
soon.
I'm certain there will be, given how the success of this thing. But now I get to go study it and look for your dad. I've heard so much about him, and your stand-up on Amazon includes, even though it's you don't shit on your dad that much, you shit on him a lot. So we get to know your dad plenty during
yes.
that.
Watch the Amazon special first, and then go watch Space Force.
Yes, I think that's actually a good recommendation.
And then check out his podcast.
Yes, and check the podcast. Who's coming up?
Inside Space Force, I think we just had Ginger Gonzaga was just on an episode with Allison Jones and Ben Harris, the legendary casting director, Allison Jones. Nice. So she gives young actors advice and stuff. It's really, really cool. It's like a master class. And she casted Freaks and Geeks, all the Apatow films, and Space Force, and many, many things. Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
yeah, check it out. It's called Inside Space Force. Inside Space Force. Inside Joke Space Force. Yeah. Inside Joke Space Force.
Inside Joke. Okay.
Yeah.
And you can get it
Netflix.
Anywhere.
I guess anywhere you get podcasts. Yeah, man. It's fun. It's been fun. And we got to talk, Drew. Am I calling tonight or what?
If you need to, I'm here. You know, I respond to your calls, Jimmy.
Me too.
All right, man. I'll hit you up. I'll hit you up tonight, and we're going to talk about my real life problems.
All right, buddy. Hey, talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Great seeing you, Drew. Bye, guys.
You too. Bye-bye. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to speak to an amazing man and amazing dentist, Dr. Brady from Drilled Podcast, the Drilled Podcast Foundation, which has now restored the teeth of Allison Rini. Am I pronouncing Allison's last name correctly? Rini?
No, I don't know.
You guys should straighten me out on that. Dr. Brady has worked with dentists all over the country, donating their work for those in need. And Allison had spent half of her life on pain meds due to injuries as a gymnast. She submitted a story to us, and it got our attention. And she has come all the way through with an incredible story of recovery. But she had this remnant left behind, which was this teeth issue. And we thought, wow, Steve-O introduced us to Dr. Brady and the Drilled Podcast. Maybe we can put them together and really get something to happen. And I assure you, you'll be impressed when you see this. We will, first take a break, and then we'll revisit Allison's letter? All right, let's do it. Take a little break and be right back. About a year ago, I was introduced to True Niagen, a supplement specifically designed to boost a key cellular resource called NAD. That's short for nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. And I was really impressed with the research that showed that increased NAD levels can promote cellular repair, maintain healthy mitochondria, and increase energy throughout the trillions of cells in our body. I've been taking True Niagen ever since, and I am truly persuaded, which is why I'm so excited to welcome them back to the program. Let's get into how True Niagen works. From age 40 to 60, humans can experience a 50% decline in NAD, leaving our cells with a shortage of that incredibly valuable energy resource. Additionally, things like immune stress, poor diet, even alcohol consumption can all deplete our cell NAD levels. Research suggests that increased NAD can support cellular defense against these physiological stressors. True Niagen is designed to boost NAD levels and is backed by clinical research and regulatory approvals. Now, while the research is still evolving, I am truly impressed by the possibilities surrounding NAD and the research behind True Niagen. And I suggest you check out their information for yourself. To learn more about the research, science, and to order your supply of True Niagen supplement, visit drdrew.com/True Niagen and use the code DREW at checkout for a special discount on orders of 3 bottles or more. So that's my website, drdrew.com/TRUNIAGEN, and use the code DREW today. By way of bringing you Allison's saga, what we're going to do is I'm going to play her letter for you in an interview on a previous episode of Ask Dr. Drew in February entitled Dr. Drew and Bruce Heischober on opioids, Suboxone, and pain management. We'll tell you her letter in a second. Then we'll play a video immediately after that where we introduce Dr. Brady. And then we'll bring you Dr. Brady, and we'll talk to you about what happened after the two.
Well, it's sort of in that order. We're going to show her letter, and then we're going to have the previous episode of Ask Dr. Drew, and then we'll have Dr. Brady.
Perfect. Let's get that letter.
Dr. Drew, I need your help, but asking for help is not my strong suit. I've survived many things in this world. A stalker, 2 rapes, an abusive ex, multiple knee operations, chronic pain, and the 2016 Black Lives Matter mass shooting, when 3 cops were killed in front of me. I've survived the majority of these incidents with minimal support and therapy, but I can't do it alone anymore. During all of this, I also battled addiction to pain medication and other pills prescribed by my longtime general practitioner. Following a patellar chondrocyte transplant and tibia tubercle realignment at 15, my general practitioner was meant to manage my pain. But long story short, for years, he prescribed 150 mcg fentanyl patch, 1 to 2 30 milligram oxycodone every 4 hours, 1 to 2 15 milligram oxycodone every 4 hours, 3 20 milligram Adderall a day, 3 1 milligram Xanax a day, 3 1 milligram clonazepam a day, all while promising me I would not become an addict. Miraculously, I got myself off of all of these without the help of a doctor or rehab. I've begun to rebuild my life in South Philly and have learned to live again versus simply surviving. I strive to inspire others to persevere and live again by writing my memoir. And I'm attaching the chapter on the mass shooting for you, should you have any advice or guidance on next steps to publication. I have battled my way to this point and will inspire the world, but I must be able to smile to do it. Years of extreme over-medicating robbed me of my teeth. This is my next request. Please help connect me to someone who can help me to smile again. I haven't smiled properly in years. The shame keeps me from leaving home and makes for a lonely life. I need your help, Dr. Drew. Please guide me in my quest to smile again and to publish a memoir that will inspire the world. I have the self-discipline and talent required, but I can't do it on my own. I hope to hear from you soon. Thanks.
The teeth, though, are getting in the way of you getting your life fully back. Is that correct?
Yes. So I'm a writer, and I would, looking to publish a book, and
right.
you can't take that picture for the cover if you can't smile,
right.
and you can't go out and speak, and
I
you
hear
feel like everyone's judging you.
That is why I heard your story. Actually, you wrote in at drdrew.com, I think, and I thought about Dr. Brady Smith. So, Dr. Smith, this is where you step in.
Oh, thank you. This is where I want to step in. This is exactly where I want to step in. And I was so thrilled to get an email from Dr. Drew telling me your story, Allison. And there's just there's just so many dentists around. There's so much ability and skill out there. And we have some logistics to figure out, but I absolutely want to offer to completely take care of every dental issue that you might possibly need, and at least restore that one bit of your life that I have the ability and skill to provide for you. And I want to gift that to you if that's something you would like to accept.
Yeah, is that something you like, Allison? I just imagine.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm crying.
What a kind and generous offer.
Producer Susan is crying.
Thank you so much. Dr. Smith.
Well,
oh, Susan,
you're very
she's
welcome.
just so sweet. Just a side note.
You're very welcome. I'm just
Such
so
a wonderful
thrilled to be a part
person,
of
and
this.
you as well, Brady.
Hey, listen, this
Thank
is
you,
all,
and I
this
hope
is not.
that I look
Let's be
forward
clear.
to paying it forward.
Yeah, listen to be clear. This is not Bruce and me. This is not Susan and me. This is, thank God, Steve-O told me to interview Dr. Smith. So when you wrote, I had something to offer. But this is all about Dr. Brady Smith.
Steve-O is saving you.
Yes, it's Steve-O is the conduit.
Oh,
this is how good stuff happens in life. Absolutely, and there is the one and only Dr. Brady Smith. Thank you, buddy.
Hey, it's good to be here, man. I'm thrilled at what we've done, and I'm thrilled at this collaboration, and this is what we're all about.
Like I said, I'm just the one pushing things through, and thank God Steve-O introduced me to you. And tell people really quickly about the Institute and why you started it.
Yeah, just a real quick summary. I hated my job. I've been a dentist for 10 years, and about 5 years into it, there was a lot of stuff kind of eating at me and chewing at me, and dentistry is a very difficult career to switch to not be a dentist anymore. You put a lot of investment, time, and money into doing it. And one of the things that was lacking was charitable service. And and that really just kind of turned my life around when I started doing free stuff for people. Just the analogy that I always use is I don't like mowing lawns at all. Like, I hate mowing lawns, and I even pay someone to mow my own lawn, and I just hate it. From a kid, I hate it. And but if there was someone in need, if there was an elderly woman or a widow who needed their lawn mowed, I don't mind it in that one circumstance. And in that one circumstance, it's empowering.
Uh-oh, we keep freezing up.
It's just, I just kind of changed the way I focused on my job. And so I started kind of doing that more and more. And then last year, I turned it into a nonprofit organization where we want to try to convince all dentists to try to take on a free case every year.
And tell people where to go if they want to learn more.
Yeah, so we have a website, which is the first place to go to, drilledwithdrbrady.com. You can subscribe to our podcast, Drilled with Dr. Brady podcast, on iTunes and anywhere you get podcasts. We have a Drilled podcast Instagram we do, and I think that covers it pretty good.
And then, so now we have another video of right following the surgery. Is that correct, producers? Okay, so we're gonna air for everyone right now exactly. We're gonna get to meet Allison in just a minute. She's not actually at her post there, so I'm worried she's not gonna be there when we go to her. But we are gonna show you this video of exactly what happened following the surgery. There's the before picture. This is what, and Dr. Brady, maybe you want to comment about that. I mean, she's got, what was the nature of the condition of her teeth?
It was, I mean, her story kind of speaks for herself. There's a lot of side effects to these drugs and this chronic opioid use and just all kinds of drugs that usually has xerostomia as a side effect, which is a fancy word for dry mouth. Yeah. Just wreaks havoc. I mean, our saliva is so crucial in battling the acidic environment of our mouth and neutralizing that acid. So when you get saliva taken away, it's devastating. And it's not written on any bottle. It's not a general doctor that you need to ramp up your oral care or you're going to have another problem. And that's exactly what happens. We get rampant decay and missing teeth.
We literally, complaints of dry mouth are met with, drink some more fluids. Here's some artificial saliva maybe if it really bothers you. We don't really pay a lot of attention to that. And the meth-related teeth damage may be related to this as well. Some people surmise, amongst other things.
Definitely.
Explain exactly what you did, because I didn't leave that in the next video.
This wasn't I got to give a huge shout out to a Smile team in Philadelphia, Dr. Dosher, who was someone that I reached out to on a Facebook group, and she was a stranger to me, and I told her what I was doing, and I needed someone to do some preliminary x-ray work, and she volunteered within 10 minutes and didn't have to do that, but she did, and helped me assess the situation. And I actually consulted with her on the phone. She saw Allison in person. She happened to be within walking distance.
Wow, that's
of her home and Philadelphia. So we consulted together on what was needed with x-rays and me talking to her about what she saw clinically. And it was super obvious that we needed to have a replacement conversation, not a repair conversation. So we needed to replace everything. There wasn't a lot to work with. And so it resulted in full removal, and we got implant-supported prosthetics that will be functional, beautiful, natural-looking, and within time, it'll be.
We lost the last part there. Within time, it will be what?
Natural feeling. Yeah. There's a learning curve. Obviously, it's always a new thing having something in your mouth you're not used to, but I think the appearance, once you see her, will kind of speak for itself. Looks amazing.
Let's first take a look at the video right after surgery.
Natural anatomy.
How was the procedure?
I'll let you talk.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
It was oh, my hands. It was more painful than I thought for maybe 2 or 3 hours, but then it was much better.
Good.
Like, you know, today's been much easier.
And let's see what we got here. What's the finished product? Here's the big reveal.
She can't smile very easily.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to smile.
Here, I'll hold it. I'll hold it. Yeah, so she has to, I mean, one of the instructions I give them is to like read out loud, talk out loud, sing in the shower, like talk, make noises, get your muscles, your cheeks and your tongue to know, okay, this is the anatomy now. And so it'll get used to it. And that learning curve, she'll go through it in a snap. And
make faces at yourself, smile at yourself, that kind of thing.
Yeah. She doesn't feel, I mean, it doesn't feel natural to her.
At all.
Yeah.
But if you saw her walking around, you would just think those are beautiful teeth.
Frozen. Oh, yeah. No, it looks natural. I'm seeing it. It looks completely natural. Although she seems like it's awkward for her. Like I can tell she has trouble initiating a smile, but you would never pick that up out in conversation or anything.
Yeah, that's right.
Look at her eyes.
Trusting it.
She has beautiful
I know.
eyes,
I you got your sunglasses. You got to take those off.
This happened. I mean,
wait, put the camera on her.
What's that, Susan?
Yeah, what am I? There you go. You take it. You take it.
Yeah, we want to see the product. There you are.
So beautiful.
I'll be in it a little bit.
It really is amazing.
You don't want to be okay.
You got to show other people in your life. They're going to freak out. They're going to love this. Now we're back with Dr. Brady Smith, and let's bring in Allison. There she is. Come on, Allison. Come on in here. How are you?
Hey, everyone.
Hey.
I'm doing well. I'm excited.
You look much more comfortable now.
I look much more coherent now as well. That's a trip to see.
Are you back in Philadelphia?
Yes, I'm back in my apartment in South Philly. I have to say Washington is beautiful, and I cannot wait to come out and spend more time there.
Oh, interesting. Maybe find a new home for you out there. So how are people reacting?
Well, I haven't been able to see too many people because we're still locked down, but I just saw my neighbor for the first time a few hours ago, and she was just blown away. She couldn't get over it. I've sent pictures to family and friends. Everyone's had awesome reactions. So
Great.
They never knew before.
You sort of hid it from them?
Yeah, I had never smiled once, so it's just good to see me smile again. Is
that Brady?
Well, it's super common that even your closest family members, siblings, parents, this is a problem that usually people suffer in silence, and they hide it because the pain is intermittent. It's not constant sometimes, and so you can hide things. You learn to train your lips to guard the appearance, and you can hide it for years, decades even.
Say that again, Allison.
Really
you froze
having to adapt. I'm having to adapt to not doing the weird lip stuff anymore. And I stop and I laugh every time with my teeth showing, every time I catch myself. So it's been a really good feeling.
And you have a plan to write a book, right?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I was in the Black Lives Matter mass shooting in Dallas in July of 2016. A girl I had actually just met that day. It was really important to her to march. She'd gotten it happen, so we marched, and I I believe it's called I Believe In. Afterwards, there was a man who shot and killed 5 police officers, injured 7 additional police officers, and injured 2 or 3 civilians. And I was right there for most of it. We holed up in we took shelter in a stairwell together with women and children, small children. So it's a story of that, but it's also my story of, I had gone through so much of my life already, and I got sick of just surviving things. So I took a year where I lived. I had the wonderful opportunity to live in Ocean City, New Jersey, pretty much in seclusion for 10 months, and dealt with a lot of the things I had never dealt with. Past traumas and how much I grew, and then moving to South Philly. I grew up right outside of here, so that was always, a huge goal of mine. So now I'm here, and I'm learning to stand up for myself, and I made, the initiative to reach out to y'all, and I've been, doing my writing and looking for a literary agent, and just I'm keep going. Got to get more voices out there.
It's great. It's obviously very pertinent for the present historical moment. So I look forward to reading whatever you put together. It's also a great story about coming to your own aid. I mean, just by writing a letter, look at all this.
Yeah, it's really empowered me to, I really don't do well with asking for help. And so not only that, reaching out to y'all, but it was also when I was there in Washington, I went alone, and, Dr. Brady and his team made me feel so comfortable. They're the ones that got me through that. It's having to ask for help all the way around. Is
there a word you could use to describe what you were able to feel as a result of the staff being so supportive?
It would have to be just family. Like, I felt like I trusted all of them with everything that was going on.
So you said, I felt like I trusted all of them, and trust was the word I was fishing for. And trust is what gets shattered with trauma. People that are traumatized don't have trust.
Does.
And so the fact that you are tolerating trust again is a major, major, major milestone.
Well, and to them too, I was having some PTSD flare-ups around some stuff that happened in my neighborhood right before flying out there, and I was a little worried. Sue was great in supporting me, and I was worried that I wouldn't be at ease with them. So they made their job harder, but they rose to the occasion, and just right off the bat. So,
well, to be fair, I'm sure that sounds like Dr. Smith, they did a great job. But when people have trauma, trust is a major, major, major issue. And so it's Allison's willingness to you can show all the support in the world. If somebody's not willing to trust, those of us in the caretaking can only do so much.
Yeah, this has been a huge marker for personal growth in so many ways. And Dr. Brady, you're responsible for that already. I've texted him many times. I've finally been able to, even before we had the procedures on, having the guts to send out to literary agents, things like that, job interviews, just knowing that I would be able to smile. So this changed my life. It's really cool. It's amazing.
So, Dr. Brady,
it's been great to be a part of that. Yeah, no, this has been great to be a part. I got to give a special shout out to Evergreen Denture Clinic, Evergreen Denture Center. They've provided a lot of work for us too, and I've worked closely with them for a few years, and they are a fantastic team here in the Vancouver, Washington area. And also BioHorizons Implant Company, which provided a lot of the hardware possible. It is a team effort, and it's my staff, and it's these companies, and it's the people, a lot of parts coming together to make this kind of thing possible. That's kind of the point of Drilled Podcast Network, my nonprofit organization, is to try to take all these moving pieces and make it align for individuals like Allison who need the help.
It isn't easy to pull in resources. It isn't. I get it. And we're trying to do it all the time. I try to do it for addicts and mental health stuff all the time, and it's really tough. So thank you for doing it. And Allison, thank you for reaching out. And I know, Brady, that Allison propels you forward. You know what I mean? Her story I know how much that means to you as a caretaker offering these services, being able to do something like that for somebody. It's just, you're good for about another 4 weeks. You know what I mean? It's like you'll enjoy your dentistry work for another 4 weeks because of Allison.
You know, I got to keep it coming, though. You know, that's the thing, is that once you experience the power of charitable service and what that means to you, it's like you got to get another fix. I got to get another Allison. I got to get another one. It's just.
Well, don't worry, Allison.
I'm really looking.
It's fulfillment.
What's that, Allison?
I was just saying, I'm looking forward to doing anything that I can to help Dr. Brady while he was frozen.
I didn't want to interrupt
what they're
or
doing
anything,
is amazing.
But I have to now. I'm shaking and I'm tearing up over here again. It's so amazing what the two of you have done.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for letting us be a part of this.
But listen carefully. They're both talking about paying it forward further, and this is how this works.
Well, we're going to help out as much as we can too. We'll see what we can do.
Well, hey, let's give a little shout out to your. Because been quite the had the motherly overwatch over Allison, and she's been communicating with me on the sidelines, making sure we're taking care of Allison. So again, this is really a big team effort, and she has been super instrumental in making Allison feel comfortable. And Allison's told me this, and so her efforts. Sue's been amazing in all this, making sure we're coordinating everything and getting her taken care of. And it's just really a wonderful.
And thank you, Susan. But Susan's she has a talent with travel, and so I know she. No, I'm not kidding. So I know that she used that to get you out there.
She does.
Yeah.
She does.
I was a travel agent.
Yeah. Well,
no, I was like, the tickets are cheap. You got to get her out here. Come on, let's do it. They're half price. Let's do it.
Let's go.
But Sue, you really have been, kind of my rock through this, and I knew anything I needed in Portland or Washington rather, you were there, and I knew I could text you or call you guys with anything I needed, and I can't thank you enough for everything you guys.
Brady was amazing, and he was communicating with me.
And Brady,
he wanted you to come very badly. Nothing was going to stop him. No virus was going to stop this.
No,
because you wrote the letter on Valentine's Day. It was way before this whole thing happened, and we had to wait.
Seriously, I'm single, but this was the best Valentine's Day ever, guys. Thank you.
All right, you guys. Thank you. Thank you for inspiring us, and we'll stay in touch and follow along. So,
hey, thanks a lot, Dr. Drew.
At Drilled Podcast, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Brady Smith and Allison.
Hey, next time, let's hold an intervention for Jimmy O. I heard he hasn't been to the dentist for a long time.
Is that true? I
heard him in your chat. We need to have a dental intervention.
I'm telling you something. I haven't talked to him.
For him.
I haven't talked to him about his mental health in a long time, and this is going to be part of our chat. Trust me, we're going to have a little conversation here.
Okay.
So,
let's talk to you.
And thank you to Steve-O.
Yes, thanks, Steve-O, to start this whole ball.
Oh, and Allison, Jimmy Oying is single too, just by the way.
I was so excited about that because I watched, that's what I binged on yesterday. So that, like, when you told me who else was going to be on, I love him. You have my permission to give him my information.
We figured. Thank you, guys. Cool. And then are we taking a little break again, or can I go to some calls? I go to calls?
Thanks again.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Love you both.
Thank you. We love you too.
All right. I'm going to go to a couple calls here real quick. And then we'll kind of wrap things up. But let's get to these calls. I saw people lining up here. Bobby, go ahead.
Dr. Drew.
Hey, buddy.
I'm a lifetime caller, lifetime listener, first time caller.
Fantastic.
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you loud and clear. You hear me?
Okay, good, because I got the earbuds and just making sure I can hear you crystal clear. So good to hear your voice talking to me specifically. Wow.
Crazy, right? Here we are.
Wow. I've had a lot of questions for you over the years. Never have I been able to call or even had the patience to do so. I am, starstruck, really.
It's all good, man.
My question is in relation to COVID-19. My girlfriend's pregnant. We're about to have a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm wicked nervous about this pandemic and everything going on and the violence and the escalation and the stupidity of the president. Everything makes me nervous. Bringing a child into this world is terrifying, all in itself.
I get
but
it.
During this pandemic, what do I need to do to be ready for this?
Well, I understand why you would be disturbed. I mean, I'm like you. I'm upset and anxious all the time. I think when is the baby due? January. So by then we should have a vaccine.
I say she, but
we should have a vaccine by then. So obviously the parents should be vaccinated so we don't have sick parents. Whether or not children will be vaccinated, I don't know what the pediatric community will be recommending. I suspect not. I suspect we'll be using herd immunity to protect the children from infection. And the children are already at so low risk for COVID that, I'd be surprised if they vaccinate children. But get yourself vaccinated. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know where we're going to be as a country. I don't know. I'm hoping we have. I don't know. I don't know what that part of it. I can understand why it would make you anxious, except to say by the time that child is out of grammar school, we'll probably be in a whole completely different place. I mean, when things happen of an acute nature historically, it always kind of happens in big outbursts that are kind of fast. They don't tend to lag on. So I'm guessing, there's a famous philosopher by the name of Hegel that always talked about thesis, antithesis, synthesis, that you come up with, countervailing forces, that somehow we work it through historically and make something better out of it. And I'm hoping that that's what's happening now to us. And I'm hoping that, you can bring a child into the world, maybe things will be actually better as a result of what we're going through now. So I would look forward to that. Okay.
Yeah. Me too. I'm praying for the best and doing all that I can to make everything copacetic, I guess, because it's not like you can make things real grand in this day and age, but to be copacetic.
That's right. And a child has a way of grounding all of that, right? So your focus is on that, and you don't worry so much about the big patterns. You really are just trying to get this child forward in the world. And I do believe marriage is there to protect children and give them stability. That's why that has been the foundation of society throughout human history. So you might want to, maybe get married to the mother of your child, at least as a gesture of commitment to the family you're creating with her. Thank you, Bobby. And then I want to take this call from Zachary. Zachary, go ahead.
Hello?
Hey, man. Go ahead.
Yes. Oh, is this Dr. Goose?
Yeah, buddy.
Hey, what's up? I have a question for you. Have you ever dealt with anybody with a recovered memory?
Sure.
I've got a recovered memory of a kid about twice my size when I was maybe like 3 or 4 years old. He would, him and his brother, they would like tickle me and stuff in front of the parents. And they would get me right out of the room, and his little brother would tickle me, and he would choke me out until I was passed out. And there's another one where they like put cushions on top of my head and like bouncing until like I was passed out. My dad finally came in and realized what was happening and got me out from underneath the cushions. I totally didn't remember any of this until maybe 2.5 months ago at the most.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and?
So I'm just wondering, have you ever heard of recovered memories like that? And
of course,
I think
commonly.
you have dealt with it, okay, but I came to this conclusion on my own. I wasn't in therapy or anything.
Right. So it's common for people to think about things differently than they had in the past, and things that, you sort of fell into the background suddenly come forward as traumatizing as they in fact were at the time. And there can be recovering memories that are false. There can be recovered memories that are true. They're all over the place. But what's important is whether or not you have traumatic results, where you have traumatic syndromes. You can't regulate your emotions. You're prone to use substances. You have difficulty in relationships.
Well, let me tell you what happened that brought it out, and it was about a year ago. My girlfriend was tickling me, and I got really upset, like more so than what the occasion called for. And I was kind of like backed into a corner. We were sitting on the bed, and like this attitude came out of me that I had no idea. Now the relationship is over, and this has been a while ago. But I was just looking back on it, like, why did that make me so pissed off? Why did that behavior come out? And that's why, I think.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So, so I'm just asking what I should do. Like, is that a sign that something is going wrong, or is it a sign that, okay, I was able to look at it, deal with it, and just move forward?
It's hard for me to answer that just in this kind of environment, but you're not describing the usual problems associated with trauma. And so if I were to say, oh my gosh, that trauma affected you and you're going to have to get that sort of rewired, I'm not hearing those sorts of issues. What I'm hearing is very specific trauma-associated responses that if they bother you enough, you may want to get them treated. There's ways to treat that kind of thing. But I don't feel, there's nothing you're saying that says anything really specific about what you should do. Okay?
Okay.
All right. But that's interesting. Okay. It's very interesting that you were able to uncover those things. That's a good insight. That's what insight is about, is to look at our behavior, follow our feelings, and see what's going on, and maybe change our perspective. Usually you need to talk to another person to really step outside of yourself enough to be able to re-regulate emotions. That's just kind of why we need a therapist there. But you can have an insight like that, a sort of gestalt kind of insight, where you go, oh my God, that behavior is so inappropriate because of this particular, it's connected to that particular event in my life. And next time you have somebody who tickles you, say, see if that same behavior emerges, and if that bothers you enough, you can get that treated. And I guess I would say, if you're having trouble regulating your emotions, if you have depression, you have interpersonal problems, then that's the time to take a real look at it. Okay. Guys, that about does it. Let me quickly look at the restream. I got to do a little bit of COVID for you guys. The cases are going up a little bit in certain areas. California, very particularly, seems to be struggling a bit. I looked at, remember I kept saying that Georgia's our canary in the coal mine, and Georgia is going down, down, down in spite of people moving around. I'll tell you the really interesting state is Arizona. Arizona is bouncing around all over the place. They had very few deaths. Their daily death rate was around 15. And it's crazy to say that, just 15 is such a low number. But and their hospital resource use is going to be fine. It's not like they're going to overwhelm their system. But if you look at right now their estimated case rate and their actually measured case rate, it's bouncing between, let me just give you the numbers, 678, 193, 1,100, 530, 1,500, 1,000. So it's jumping around a little bit. Now, the thing about bouncing like that is that usually is a direction. In this case, this direction seems to be up. And I don't know if this is, if they're going to be able to isolate this to specific areas. Arizona has been, my understanding is, what I've been hearing, I have not visited Arizona, but I've been hearing that they've been pretty cavalier about moving around. And they've been moving around a lot since April. So, to see a little pop up would not be a surprise. And by the same token, if you look at California, where we were locked way down and been moving around now with the demonstrations, let me give you some of our numbers here in California. It's a much bigger state, obviously. So this is the number of documented cases: 2,700, 2,400, 2,100, 2,800, right? 3,500, 2,800. So this recent tick up, I'm going to say, is probably real, because we were expecting some of that from them moving around. It does not appear to be affecting the death rate. So at this point, it's staying probably within a young population. Our death rate in California did pop up a little bit, but it's too soon to have really been related to the demonstrations. It's gone from a high of 75 down to a low of 64 and back up to 75. It's pretty flat, let's face it. But these are numbers worth watching. I don't think, you saw how the virus behaved back in the day, right? back when we were going into this thing. Now, that was a different season. That was winter and spring. We're getting into the summer now. And think about colds. Colds, you get them in the winter, and you don't seem to get them in the summer because the coronaviruses cause colds. They don't like the summer. So you don't get colds in the summer because the coronavirus doesn't survive in the summer. Now, so one of two things may be happening here. This virus may be dying out because of the season, and it may be back in the fall. Or it may just have run its course and be dying out, period. That's it. That's the end of this virus. Or it's not gone away and we just had suppressed it sufficiently and it's just going to come raging back, which I don't expect. So Jesse Brown tells me that people in Arizona are not wearing masks. That's a shame because that's a squandered opportunity to show that masks, well, now put them on. Put the masks on and show that the mask can stop this thing from getting out of hand. Josette says, I'm in Arizona, I had the antibody test negative. We're seeing more and more concerns about the lack of accuracy of the antibody test. So if you are negative, I have people that I'm convinced had the virus who had negative tests, and there's some evidence that maybe 20% of people with the virus have negative antibody tests. So again, the antibody situation has yet to be worked out. It's turning out to be a good thing that we didn't do widespread testing on the antibodies because we don't have a good test. Mallory's saying, it's wonder if the drugs do such damage to your teeth, what other damage they might be doing. But let's be fair, the damage that these drugs do to the teeth is because of the lack of saliva. The saliva dries up, teeth rot. That's that.
Yeah, she's a poster child for not taking opiates.
Well, and there's a lot of other drugs, guys, dry mouth. So make sure you talk to your doctor about it. Inhalers, too, can screw up your teeth, and we don't think about that enough. Thank you, B-World, for saying this was a good episode. We appreciate it.
Can Caleb show the after picture of the before and the after of Allison again?
Of course.
Oh, my gosh.
Here's Allison before and after. Susan's still amazed at the results here. Go ahead.
Here's the before. This was her picture yesterday she took.
Right. Fantastic.
She was so excited.
I'm jealous of her teeth. Those are perfect teeth, right? I mean, give me a break. So.
I know. She's a beautiful woman. We didn't even see her picture until she was with Dr. Brady, like literally didn't know what she looked like. We were pleasantly surprised.
Doing a stream. Is this an emergency? Oh, okay. I'll call you back.
We didn't know what she looked like until she showed up in Brady's office, and I was like, oh my God, I saw a picture on her Facebook, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's really pretty. We didn't get her off of a casting call or anything.
No, she came to us.
She did. It was just her letter that got her the deal. So
and
I was surprised.
Let's not. You don't have to look a certain way to get teeth from.
No. I mean, it wasn't like we went out and found a pretty girl that it was just a random.
This is just what happened.
I didn't know what she looked like. I was so surprised. That's why when I saw her eyes, I was like, oh my goodness.
I'm sorry to the people on hold. I can't get to more calls. I've got another thing I've got to get to. As you see, they're actually calling me here to get right to it. Unblinding the leronlimab next week, Andrew. Fantastic. That'll be great news. We'll see how that works out. There's a lot of good biotech stuff coming in the next 3 months. Trust me, lots of good biotech. That particular result, there's also, again, a lot of stuff working with the cytokine system, monoclonal antibodies, vaccines. Now is where you're going to start to see the real innovation that we'll have lined up for the fall should this virus come back. So we will be in here tomorrow, Susan, yes?
Probably. So somebody said that story should be on the news. Restore people's faith in humanity. I'm hoping.
Yep. I'm hoping too, but maybe we'll put it. Why don't we put it on?
I've already called people. I don't know if it's going to happen. It's kind of a bad time right now.
Have you called Fox 11?
No, but it's just this week is George Floyd's memorial. It's not a really good time, but I'm sure that we'll be able to push it through.
So maybe on Fox 11 we can put that in as a. Maybe I can push it in for one of Christine Devine's stories. That would fit there. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us. We will be in here tomorrow around the same time in the afternoon, and good show. Thank you for joining us.